Vahagraphy, the art of battle and resilience. Film or digital, doesn't matter the tool. Vahagraphy style, making pixels.
What's good, guys? This is Vahagraphy. I'm Vahagan, your rock and roll photographer. Welcome to Focus Bokehs episode number 3. Today we're talking about third-party lenses. Why pick a third-party lens? Why go with it? Why to not go with it? The originals, what are the differences, the advantages, the disadvantages. We're specifically going to talk about a lens that is just coming out, an interesting lens. We'll talk about that and more. I'm also going to be reading your comments today from last episode, yesterday's episode. I want you guys to get involved, engaged, leave me comments, leave me questions, because it might get read on the next show. So let's get started. Third-party lenses. My experience with third-party glass. I have a lot of experience with it. In recent years, the Viltrox has been, making some news, making some great glass for Nikon cameras. Z-mount, Viltrox, both APS-C crop sensor and full frame lenses. I own quite a bit of Viltrox glass. My favorites that I have a 75 1.2 APS-C lens, which is amazing. I think I record a lot of my Vahagraphy out and about videos with that lens, wide open on a Z-mount. I use a full frame camera on APS-C mode and no problem whatsoever. I love the bokeh that I get. It's in Focus Bokehs. Yeah, we're getting a lot of focus and bokehs with that Viltrox 75 1.2. I also own a 27 1.2, again APS-C lens. I've owned quite a few full frame 1.8 lenses from Viltrox. Currently like a 42.5, a 16 mil, which I reviewed. They're all Z-mount, 16 mil, and I own that one too. And I think that's a great lens too for the money. Now, I say for the money because that's the key words here. That's a key sentence. For the money. You're going to be hearing a lot of that on the show today because that is probably the main reason why somebody would choose to go third party. Do you know of any instance where a third party lens is actually clinically visually better than its counterpart original OEM lens? Which one is better quality wise, as far as picture quality wise? Do you own a third party lens that's actually better than the OEM version? Now, the version has to be the same. The version has to be exactly the same, focal length and aperture wise. In my experience, all my OEM original factory Nikon lenses that I own are clinically sharper. They're better. They work better. The focus is much faster and they're very durable. They last a long, long time without any problems. Even cosmetically, all the third-party counterparts that I owned were good. I say good enough. Good enough to get the job done, good enough to save you money. However, there's a reason why you're paying less. There's a reason why you're paying more for the originals. OEM, Nikon, Canon, Sony lenses, obviously. So do camera manufacturers cripple the camera when using third party? There's an instance of a Sigma soon to be released 300 to 600 f4 $6,000 lens that's coming out, or it's out, I'm not sure, but they actually cripples the camera. It's a Sony lens, so Sony shoots at 30 frames per second raw on the A1, right? The Sony A1. But when using the 300 to 600 millimeter Sigma f4 lens, you can't shoot at 30 frames per second. You can only shoot at 15 frames per second. So there are instances where the camera manufacturers actually cripple some features of the camera. Now, I have no idea why that is. Is it technical? Is it, well, you want the full features? Go ahead and buy my Sony f4 $13,000 lens, buddy. You can argue that there are some technical reasons why this is the case. Maybe it's the focus speed motors in the lens itself that's causing the camera to slow down. I don't know if that's the case, but in my experience using third party, let's see, let me think. My first third party lens that I've ever bought with my own money was a Tamron 4F mount. It was a Tamron. Who remembers the 18-200? I don't remember the aperture range. I know it was a variable aperture lens. And it was okay. You know, it was nothing spectacular. It felt cheaply made. I paid a pretty penny for it because I bought it at Sammy's Camera. And it was, you know, at the time in 2006 when I bought it for my D2H back in those days, it felt like I paid some good money for it. But the counterpart to that lens was much more expensive than Nikon. So I bought the Tamron. I listened to the salesman over at Sammy's and I bought it. It was okay. Nothing special. It got the job done. I've owned Sigma lenses. Right now I own older Sigma lenses. Now, here's a question for you guys. Technically, there are far superior lenses out there that are considered third party. Do you consider Zeiss being third party? The reason why I say that is because, and it's not such a stupid question, because the reason why I say that is because Zeiss, yes, they are third party lenses for your F mount, E mount, EF mount cameras, but they're so superior. You know, they're one of the top lens makers out there, Zeiss. I don't really consider them in that category of third-party lens manufacturers. I consider them the top echelon company that makes glass. Okay, they are. Some might say, yeah, they are third-party because you're mounting this on a Nikon or Canon, so it is third-party. Zeiss makes great glass. Otis, the Batis. I've owned quite a few Batis lenses when I used to rock Sony cameras. I remember I had the 18. Was it a 2.5 Batis? That thing was badass. That thing was sharp. It was just an amazing lens. Expensive. They're not too cheap, let me tell you. The 85 millimeter Batis is another great lens. So Viltrox is coming out with the 135. It's all over the news today. And some YouTubers are making videos on that as we speak. So the Viltrox 135 over at the Viltrox store right now is $900. The 135 1.8 lab lens for Sony E-mount. Now, I know when the Nikon version comes out, it's probably going to be around the same price. The Z-mount version, I could be wrong, but that's what I'm guessing. Reasons why you should buy third party. Number one, price. For those photographers that want similar results, and let me tell you, as of late, some of these Chinese third-party companies are getting damn close to the Nikon, Canon, Sony, Fuji offerings. They're getting real close, and you can get really good results with these third-party lenses. But the number one reason why I would buy it is for price. If you're on a budget, if you're a photographer that wants to save a little bit of money and wants an 85 1.4, wants a 135 1.4, 1.8 lens, full frame, and doesn't want to spend, how much is the Nikon Plana? $2,000 to $3,000, right? Doesn't want to spend that much money. That's a good option. And kudos to Viltrox for really going out and dishing out third-party options for Nikon photographers and Sony photographers. Now, there was a little bit of a battle with Canon. Now, they kind of took a backseat to third-party offerings. They've started to, work with Sigma and offering new lenses for RF glass or the APS-C versions of those. But Canon kind of took a back seat. I don't know. What do you guys think? In the comments, let me know. Did it actually hurt Canon, or did it help Canon sell real Canon lenses? Let me know in the comments if you think that's a bad idea for camera brands to kind of say, hey, you know what? You'll be sued if you make lenses for our mount. In my opinion, I think it's not wise. I don't think it was a smart decision by Canon to limit third-party lens makers. Let them go wild. What is this going to do for camera brands? It's going to let people have more options, which in turn sell more cameras. Now Canon, the big boy in all this, says we don't need them to copy our mount and make lenses. We want to sell our own glass. True to a point, I guess. They have somewhat of a valid point there. And again, I don't know if it hurt them or helped them in this case with limiting third-party options. But I know Nikon and Sony, knock yourself out. Make as many third parties as you want for our Z mount. They went the opposite direction, and there are so many lenses now available for Z mount and E mount. I think the more options for photographers, the better it is for sales. I mean, that's just on my honest opinion. But how good are these lenses? Like I said, I own a few Pro Viltrox lenses, and I can just tell you that they're great. Now, when I use a 16mm Viltrox versus when I use a 14-24 Nikon Z mount, even the 14-30 f4, of course, Nikon, the sharpness, the image rendering, even the bokeh at wide angle focal lengths is considerably better. Now, if you haven't watched my Viltrox review of the 16, check it out. I also have reviews on the 14-24 Nikon, and I also have reviews on the 14-30. I have a couple of reviews on my channel on the 14-30 Nikon. There's no comparison. I can say this. But again, you're paying double the price. Remember, it's all about the Benjamins over here. It's all about the money you pay. You get what you pay for, basically, in this, department. You get what you pay for. Now, I can sit here and say, oh, the Viltrox is great. The Viltrox smokes. The Viltrox is, for the money, it's amazing lens. It is a good lens. These Viltrox lenses are good lenses. These Sigma lenses, especially the Art Sigma series for F-mount, which I had a couple in the past, some would actually say the 105 Sigma Art lens is better than the 105E Nikon lens. I beg to differ. They're very close and similar in quality, but I kind of think that Sigma Art lens is just heavy, and just cosmetically, it's just heavy. It's a heavy piece of glass versus the 105E Nikon lens F-mount, which is a beautiful, probably one of my favorite portrait lenses that Nikon offers for F-mount is that 105E lens. So 105 1.4E. Now, I don't care what anybody says, that lens is an amazing piece of glass altogether. So get that lens if you don't have it. You can pretty much pick up good deals right now on used 105Es. Highly recommended. I highly recommend that lens for portrait photographers, wedding photographers. What was I saying? So yeah, there are considerable differences in buying these third-party options. another difference. I mean, the good is the price. You're saving some money with the price. Some of these third-party options are, 50% less than what you would pay, even more than what you would pay for the original Nikon, Canon, Sony versions. But there are drawbacks to third parties. There are some drawbacks to think about. How long will these third-party lenses last? The quality, focus, the motors they use, just the parts they use internally, the type of glass they use, the coatings. Sony, Nikon, Canon lenses, they spend so much money developing things that you don't even think about when using these lenses. For example, the money they spent, the scientific research that they put, the resources they put into coatings for these lenses, the internals, the manufacturing of the glass, the elements, the special elements that they use in these expensive lenses. Again, photographers don't really pay attention to those things sometimes, but there's a lot of engineering that goes to making lenses, and that's why they cost that much more money. There's just a special coatings. Some of these third-party lenses don't offer these special coatings. Now you can tell when you shoot, you can tell through your images what coatings actually do for your image. It plays a big role with light. It plays a big role with reflection. It plays a big role with corners, the vignetting, things that people really sometimes don't pay attention to. This is why you're paying the premium price to own some of this glass that costs $3,000, $2,000. The 85 1.2 Nikon, the 85 1.2 Canon, the Sony's, G Master lenses, the Zeiss. I mean, like I said, again, the Zeiss element comes into play here because I don't really consider Zeiss being third party. It is a third party company, but it's a Zeiss, man. It's an effing Zeiss. I mean, Zeiss is right up there with Leica when it comes to lens making, right up there with the best of the best lens makers. So they're by themselves when it comes to actually not having a camera to attach their lenses on. Do they? Does Zeiss have a camera? But I could be wrong. But anyway, not to my knowledge. And there's certain things other things to think about, like the mount quality. Like when you mount a lens, every time you mount and dismount a lens on your camera, there's a little bit of wear that happens. You don't see that wear, but it happens. Things grind together, click together, the springs, the buttons. I've actually here's a quick little story I'll tell you guys. I dropped quite a few cameras in the past while working, right? And I've dropped my Nikons. I fell once shooting. I didn't see the step. I fell. The camera slipped out of my hands and fell on the floor. It was great. The only thing that broke, nothing happened. That's why it was great. It wasn't great that I fell, but the result wasn't that bad. I thought this was leading towards disaster. But the result was the hood. The hood was broken. I had to replace the hood. Similar result. I've dropped lenses, camera and lens with third party on, and the whole mount broke, snapped out. The mount was still attached to the camera body, but the lens was broken. You could actually see all the internals. It came into two pieces. When the camera landed on the floor, I saw the body and the lens, but the mount was still on the camera. Now, I know Canon is famous for this, and there's many Canon photographers that complain about this. When they have similar instances happen, the mount just breaks. the mount stays on the camera, but the camera comes off. The body of the lens comes off, snaps off from the mount. Now, I've talked to a few experts, and they say this is on purpose because what this does is protect the camera mount from breaking, bending, and things like that. So that design is on purpose, for the lens to just snap from the mount. So other things to think about, like I said, focus motors that they use, focus speeds, noise that the lens makes, the internals, the quality of the glass, warranty, how well will these companies take care of you when something happens. I know that Nikon and Canon and Sony, they're really good at honoring warranty issues. If something is not right with your lens and it's not your fault, they'll pretty much take care of you under that 1 year warranty, whatever you have. And again, this all has tied into your investment. This all is tied into how much money you're actually invested in this third-party option, this third-party glass. For me, it comes down to, do I want to sacrifice image quality for how much money I'm dishing out for this lens? Now, if you're a photographer that can get the job done with, and the image quality is not affecting your work and your clients, and some people, they shoot, when they go out and shoot studio photography, they're shooting at f8, for example. To them, all that other stuff, shooting wide open, the bokeh, that really doesn't matter. So these lenses might be a good idea for them. If you're a event photographer and you're just hired like a second photographer and you're going around and shooting guests at these events, maybe they're sitting around the table and they're group shots, you can shoot with Viltrox. You can shoot with all these third-party lenses. It really wouldn't matter. But for fine art photography, if you want the ultimate sharpness, if you want an amazing creamy bokeh, Focus Bokehs, creamy results, right? The best of the best, right? You're going to have to pay some money. I mean, there is micro contrast that comes into play with original lenses. Now, if you've used some of the top leading portrait lenses or Leica glass, famous for this, by the way, when you shoot Leica glass, the Summoluxes of the world and the Summicrons of the world, the Noctiluxes and all the lenses, the APOs and all those lenses that cost as much as a car, like a Honda Civic or whatnot, then you know about micro contrast. You know about a solid image. It's so hard to explain with words. I have to show you on a screen what I'm talking about. But the best I could describe what I'm talking about is when you zoom in to a subject. Now, I can talk in a portrait sense, a portrait photographer, a portrait image. When I zoom into someone's face or someone's clothing or all the details you see of a subject when you're zooming in, when you're not necessarily pixel peeping. No, not pixel peeping, but when you zoom in to like 200%, let's say, and you see the layers of clothing, you see every fiber of someone's hair or their beard or their mustache, but it's not digitized. It's more just 3D-ish kind of, look and quality, where you can actually reach out and touch those layers of clothing. You can actually reach out and touch every single fiber on someone's head, where it's coming right at you. That's the quality that you get with some of these top tier lenses that you don't get with cheaper glass. Also, chromatic aberration, how well these lenses perform with shining objects, purple fringing, all that stuff come into play. How well and sharp are they wide open? Are they a foggy, blurry mess when shooting wide open? Do you have to stop it down some to get ultimate sharpness? I know that Nikon Z mount glass, especially their top tier lenses, they do a very good job shooting wide open. I mean, they blow me away. The results I get from the 85 1.2, especially that lens shooting wide open, I was blown away by how much actual great sharpness you get shooting wide open. It's unheard of, actually. The older f-mount lenses, if you remember the 85 1.4G, shooting at 1.4 wasn't, it wasn't sharp. It wasn't sharp. You would have to stop it down to maybe f2 to start seeing that amazing sharpness. 2.8, but they really did something with these new Z-mount lenses, shooting wide open. Now, of course, it's sharper when you stop it down some, but still at 1.2, it's hella great. I'm talking sharp. I'm talking amazing, and really, they did a good job. Again, you're paying for that glass. You're paying for that technology, that engineering, the coatings. And there's a lot that goes into lens making. All we see is the body and the front element and the back element and a couple of buttons on the lenses. Have you ever taken one of these guys apart and just look at all the pieces in there? It's just a work of art, guys. And I'm not even talking about those big giant birding lenses and the sports lenses. Imagine taking one of those things apart and seeing all these that goes into lens making. Now, I know Leica, why Leica is so special. Have you ever held on to a lens? Like, have you ever held a Leica lens in your hands? The first thing you notice, it's small. The second thing you notice is how heavy it is. It's dense. When you hold a lens, when you hold a Leica lens, that little sucker is heavy. It's all glass in there. It's beautiful. That's beautiful lens making art right there. Leica, Zeiss, Nikon, Canon, Sony, they all mastered the art of lens making. They're craftsmen at what they do. You ever seen one of those lens making videos at the lab? It's crazy. It's crazy how they do it. The 135 Viltrox, everybody's talking about it today. The lab lens that's coming out, I would say right under $1,000 for Nikon. The Sony E-mount's out. You weigh your option. Okay, how much is the plan at 1.8? $3,000 to $2,500, $3,000. How much is this thing? 1/3, 2/3 less a price. Full frame. Compare the differences and see if it's worth it for you. If you could save some money, I don't know. Try Viltrox out. Try it. See if you like it. It's not for everybody. If you can't afford the OEM Nikon, Canon, Sonys, then you actually would start looking at third-party lenses. There's also other things to come into play. How well do they resist weather resisting, the elements, the dust, how well are they protected from the elements? That's something that a lot of people don't think about. And how long do these lenses last? So we're talking about mirrorless cameras, attaching them to mirrorless cameras, which mirrorless cameras, there's a lot of computers and things in this camera. And, back in the days, cameras used to be analog and parts, moving parts, and now it's all computers. So how long will these things last? Focus by wire, focus by this, focus by that. I'm not a big fan of focus by wire, but hey, you know what? A lot of our Z mount and RF and the newer lenses are all focused by wire. So what can we do? Ever use the macro lens focused by wire? I don't think you like it too much. it doesn't seem real. I want to hold on to a lens, manually focus it when I'm shooting macro, and actually get the distance. And I know that it's real when you're turning the focus dial. There are parts moving. It's not computerized. The only thing that's computerized is, the information, the lens information relaying back to the camera. That's the only thing. And your focal range or whatever. But as far as focal distance, focus by wire, nothing like that. I rather shoot macro photography with the older 105 macro lenses, the Gs and the Ds, the 105D macro. It's a beautiful macro lens. I'd rather shoot macro with that than the new Z mount. What do they call them now? The MC lenses. They're beautiful, sharp lens. I mean, I'm not talking crap about that lens. But when you're out there shooting macro stuff with it and you're manually focusing, that thing can get a little, gimmicky at times, because it's kind of weird to gauge your distance and your focus. You don't know what I'm talking about until you try it for yourself. Try shooting wedding rings with the new Z lens on a tripod. It's easy, but it's weird. That's all I gotta say. It's just weird. So yeah, it all comes down to money, guys. It all comes down to budgeting. If they work for you, if third-party lenses work for you, then more power to you. Knock yourself out. Spend less money. But if you see yourself always breaking the lens and have to rebuy that lens, and it stops working, then you have to rebuy the same lens over and over and over again. I'll tell you right now, there's been never an instance where I had to replace my Nikon lens. Any focal range, we're talking F mount, G lenses, D lenses, AIS lenses. We're talking Z mount lenses. I've never had to replace a lens because it stopped working or it just not sharp. Any reason at all. Except for the fact maybe I dropped it. Of course, those kind of things happen. But never had to replace a lens. But I had to replace my third parties because just something stopped working, didn't autofocus anymore, or whatnot. The focus, the zoom ring was getting kind of grindy in there, stiff. Some of these third-party aperture rings kind of get a little quirky at times. They click when you just buy it, and then they stop clicking. They get stiff. Shooting in cold or hot temperatures, they act kind of funny and different. All those little things that photographers really don't pay attention to. It has to do with the money that you pay, because Nikon, Canon, Sony, Fuji, Leica, Zeiss, they know what they're doing when they make lenses. That's their whole thing, is making lenses. And you're going to pay a pretty penny for that quality. All right. Let's move on to... I want to read some of your guys' comments from the last show. And I want you guys... This is important for me to get you guys involved and engaged, asking questions, give me suggestions on how to improve this podcast. Again, Focus Bokehs is new. Focus Bokehs is a project that I just started. I love podcasting. So give me ideas, ask me questions. If I can answer them on the next show, I will. Maybe we could do a question of the day for this program. You guys, I can pick one question in the comments from the previous episode and bring it to the new episode. If I find it really interesting and relevant, I can talk about it. We can really dive deep into your question. I'm not expecting to get thousands and thousands of views right now on this podcast. Again, I'm just experimenting with this setup here. But I like what I'm seeing so far in one episode in. One episode in, I kind of like the engagement. It's not thousands and hundreds of comments, but things take some time to grow. Like I said, consistency is very important. I can't wait to have guests on. Who would you want me to have on this channel, on this podcast, on Focus Bokehs? Maybe contact your favorite photographer on YouTube and let them know, hey, Focus Bokehs, I'd love for you to be on the show. Maybe contact them directly and say, I would love for you to be on this podcast, because I want this to be a diverse community that people that I agree with, I disagree with. I don't hate anybody in this community. Hate is such a strong word. I've butt heads with a few YouTube photographers in the past. That's no secret. But still, it doesn't mean I would not like to have them on. We'd discuss, we'd talk about our disagreements we've had. We talk about what they're up to nowadays. Let me know in the comments who you would like for me to have on. There's a few guests that I'm lining up for these shows soon, and that you guys will be happy to hear from. But then I want to interview more people that you've necessarily not heard of. So, all right, let's go. Let's start with the comments here on last episode. Yeah, I really like the engagement. I like what's going on here. 1 or 2 episodes in. Dart Prime 10. I'm one of the persons who use both DSLR and mirrorless at gigs. The results I still get from DSLR brick are still amazing. I'm living on a prayer. I'm living on a prayer. See what I did there? Living on a prayer. Bon Jovi. That's cool. But I wish Nikon would do another round of major firmware updates to camera bodies like the D500, D780, D56, D850. Those are some bodies that can still produce great pictures, and limits have yet to be maxed out. Great point, Darth. Great point, Darth Prime. There are DSLRs that I own that I would love to see firmware updates, but does Nikon really want to put out the resources to make those cameras better via firmware update? But you know what? We got great tools now. We got D850s, we got D800s, we have the D5, D6s, and all those 780s, 700s. Great tools, and we use them, and we love the results. So great comment there by you. Thank you very much. Alpha Jam 1. Hocus Pocus by Focus. All right. Glenn 38. Man, I got to make this text bigger, seriously, on this YouTube. Anybody know how to make this text bigger without cropping the screen? I got to get a nice large screen next to me. But anyway, I'm still experimenting with the setup, guys, so bear with me. Glenn 3484 says, Vahagan, you used to have the Nikon Nation podcast, and then I think you changed the name to Photo Nation when you were obviously covering more than just Nikon gear and related news. Don't know why you gave that up. That was glad to hear about that. I don't know why you gave that up, but was glad to hear about this new one with you and Amar, since I subscribe to both your channels. Kind of feel bad that after only one episode, it will not be you and Amar, and maybe a guest or two each week. Did you guys not know you had busy schedules that would make it hard to work the new Focus Bokehs podcast around? Since you were both so excited in episode 1 to finally bring the idea to reality and kick off the new podcast, I figured you guys had worked out the scheduling issues to make it happen. Very odd. Anyway, I hope you keep this one going, and maybe Amar will be able to show up once in a while, which would be nice. I hope you keep doing more like this one. I'll be watching. Good luck. Glenn, Great comment. Thank you very much. Amar's welcome anytime to the show if he wants to come on and be a guest. Be my guest. There's nothing against him. We were excited to do this. Then I realized, like I said, as a photographer, you get last minute gigs. You can't do the recording as scheduled. Like, I can't cancel a photo shoot that I'm going to go and make money on for my business for now. I'm not generating any kind of income doing this right now. There's no sponsorship deals. This show is not large enough for me to cancel my gigs that I make money on to provide, to make a living. So when you get last minute gigs, that schedule becomes null and void. Then you got to find out a day to do it again. That was one big factor that kind of, I thought to myself, it's going to be tough. The cross-platform deal was another reason. I thought that, transferring files, me editing, because I was going to be doing all the editing, and sending it back to his channel, it just a lot of time. And then also, if you figure the cross-platform thing, we originally talked about having one episode per week on each of our channels, meaning this Sunday, my channel, next Sunday, his channel, then the following Sunday, my channel. It's kind of hard to build up a community like that, because think about it. 2 podcasts in 2 months? 1 month? That's not enough. Even one show a week is not enough for a podcast that you want people to enjoy and get a routine with. I want people to start knowing about this thing and get a routine. Hey, there's a Focus Bokehs today. It's Monday. It's Wednesday. I wonder what these crazy guys are talking about today. It's not... I feel like doing it every other week on my channel is just not enough content to grow. That was another issue. Scheduling was a bigger issue than that. So nothing against anybody. Amar is still a great friend, and actually he left a comment which I'll read in a minute. When you're excited, when you want to do something, you don't think about all the effort sometimes that entails. You're excited, you want to do something, and then you actually do it and you schedule it and you realize, okay, well, this is really not going to work out. So the best thing to do, the best advice I can give somebody, and this is something that I actually, you learn as you go, and this setup right here is not fully developed yet. I'm still thinking about bringing another monitor here. I'm having a hard time reading YouTube comments on a phone. I'm using my iPad for other resource. So I'm thinking it's still under construction, this whole setup I have here. But things will get better as we go. But what I'm trying to say is, you don't realize you change things up as you go. And to do that, you got to do more and more of these. My plan is to do Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, 4 days a week, straight, every week, and record more of these episodes, because I got a lot to say. I got a lot to talk about, and I want to talk to a lot of people, bring those conversations on to you guys to listen and to watch. It's all about content, and everybody has their own style. And yeah, I kind of wish we could have thought about it a little more doing it. But it's one thing to talk about something and being excited to do something, and it's another thing when you start doing it and you realize, damn, it's hard, and we kind of glanced over a few details and we kind of rushed it, and I think that I had a change of heart, and it's just much easier for you to do something on your own. You don't have to be waiting for somebody's schedule. You could just get on here and do it on your own time, your own channel, and you don't have to wait to coordinate with somebody else. Now that's another thing that I have to think about when I have guests on. So when I have guests on, I have to kind of schedule it with them, make sure they can make it. So one thing to avoid this go around is promoting somebody that's going to come on. I'm not going to be doing any of that. Once it's on tape, once we have it recorded, then I'll put it out, because it's so hard to book photographers, because they have their own schedules. Do they want to do it? Do they not want to do it? Are they nervous? Did the show come out good? All that stuff. Did we mesh well? So yeah, that's that. Bass Angler, you need an Eddie Van Halen hat, V. Miss that guy. Rest in peace. One of the greatest guitar players of all time. Long Rider, Nikon should join the L mount alliance. I think they're doing good. I think their F mount and Z mount, they're rocking it, man. Especially with the Z mount on the red cameras now. That's a big time, amazing advancement, man. That's great. All you Z mount owners, red cameras, the beauty you could develop with those red cameras with Z mount lenses. Can't wait. Hawaii 100. It would be interesting for you to interview other YouTube photo personalities like Tony Northrup of Tony and Chelsea Northrup, Camera Conspiracies, Matt Granger, Matt Irwin, Khan from Grays. It might be fun to interview Omar Gonzalez. He has a different style. Yeah, I'm open to everybody you mentioned. I'm open to having on my show. Again, I don't have nothing against these guys. And see what happens. We'll see what happens. A lot of these guys have egos. A lot of these guys have. I don't get too much into it here, but there's a lot's been said in the past, and I won't get into it here. But they're welcome on my show. I don't. We'll see what happens in the future. We'll see what happens in the future. So I'm open to having somebody that I enjoy having on. Somebody that they enjoy being on. That's very important, because you're doing them a favor too. They're promoting their shit on your show, and it's a win-win for both. We get a good conversation on the channel. It helps me. It helps them. You are aware of what they're doing and their plans, and it's a win-win for everybody. So to think that, we don't really mesh. One time when I was doing Vahagraphy talk, and when I was doing Vahagraphy talk, I contacted, and again, I have nothing against this dude, but I contacted to be on my show. I don't know for what any reason. He emails me and he says, I don't think it's a good fit. Like what the fuck does that mean? What the fuck? You're a photographer. You live in. You do this, you work for. What the fuck does it mean? I don't think it's a good fit. So there are a lot of egos involved. There's a lot of, politics. Somebody might try to avoid me because I have a different ideology about life and politics. That's so stupid in my opinion. I would love to have, I don't look at someone's ideology and who they voted for. I don't look at that. I look at them as a person, as a photographer. Not who they voted for or what they think about policy or if they're this or that. That's total immature crap, stupid. That's just mob mentality right there. And there's a lot going on like that in this photo community where, hey, that guy is, that guy might be MAGA. I'm not going to associate myself. Or that guy had beef with this photographer. Yeah, he's an asshole or this, that. He's just an idiot. He called me out, or I'm super angry that he said something bad about my video. I'm going to go cry in the corner. Yeah, there's a lot of that going on, and there's a lot of grudges being held in this community. Let's break those grudges. Let's let bygones be bygones. I might have said something hurtful about Tony and Chelsea. They might not come on. I don't give a shit, but they're welcome to come on. I'll tell Tony all the time, why are you shitting on Nikon? I'll tell him in his face. I don't care. I'll tell Jared that some of his stuff needs to change. It's just getting repetitive. I don't agree with some of the stuff he says. I think his routine and shtick might sometimes get a little boring, but you got to respect that. Here you go. Amar Talks Tech Talks. Awesome podcast. Keep it going. You are onto something, and as always, you have our support. Appreciate you, bro. Stay blessed. There you go. Here's a comment from Amar. Amar, thank you very much, man. Appreciate it, and I hope you understood my decision to do this. With given everything I said, that's the reason why, and he totally understands. He's a constant professional, and he knows what I'm talking about. Thank you, Amar. Eddie Man, listening while driving to work. Rock and roll. Hey, Eddie Man. Hey, that's what we want. Exactly what I want. That's exactly what I want. Beautiful, Eddie Man. Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you for listening. Atari for live. You like Atari, huh? Focus Bokehs. Can't wait for a ZC. You can't wait for the Z cinema box style camera, whether it be called a ZC, ZV, ZX, whatever. But you know what I'm talking about. We talked about that on the last podcast. Eric Photog 554. Awesome episode. Thank you for listening, Eric. Film. What's up, Film? 974. Good to see you, Vahagan. Keep them coming. Good to see you too, man. Good to see you too, Film. Thanks, guys. I mean, like I said, I can't expect too much right now. This thing is just being born. I've always wanted to do this on my own time. And like I said, you want something done, do it yourself, because it's hard to rely on others, especially when there's no budget. I'm not hiring anybody. I'm not paying anybody to edit. I'm not paying anybody to set my cameras up. I'm not paying anybody to record this audio. I'm doing this all myself while running a channel, while running a photo business, while having, doing the duties of a dad and a husband. It's tough. And when you're trying to coordinate things with a partner, it's even more tough. So you want something done, just do it yourself. Do it on your own time. And it's the best way, Yeah, obviously in a year or 2 years from now, when we're 500 episodes in, God willing, if this thing succeeds, we start with new concepts. We start making a little bit of coin. We started getting sponsors between conversations. Hey, who knows? I might hire some people to do. I might hire people to do things on the channel where I can actually pay somebody to do something for me. Sky's the limit. It's just how much work you put in, and also you get good at this. You start getting good at this. I don't use no teleprompter. It's all, I just wing it. I have some talking points I want to get across on episodes, and that's it. So anyway, we went over an hour, I think, and this was episode 2. Again, just to recap, third-party lenses, good or bad. Let me know some of your experiences in the comments below. Let me know what lenses you like. Are you excited for Viltrox? Are you excited for the Sigmas? Are you excited for some of these other third-party lens manufacturers? Let me know in the comments the good and the bad, and if you agree with me, everything I talked about. And I'm glad I shared my experience with you with third-party glass. So that's it. This was episode number 3. Like, subscribe, share. Leave a comment. Let's grow. And if you want to join Vahagraphy and you want to buy me a cup of coffee, like a lot of YouTubers say, the coffee fund is open, right? The coffee fund is open, guys. I'll appreciate it. That's great. And let's grow the community. Episode 3, Focus Bokehs. We'll see you on episode 4. Thanks for listening and watching. We'll see you next time. This is Vahagraphy. I'm Vahagan, your rock and roll photographer. We'll see you very, very soon. And don't forget to comment and let me know. Give me some ideas. Give me some suggestions. Ask me questions, because, I might pick them off on the next episode, and we might make a whole new podcast out of your question. Who knows? Sky's the limit. You're in control of this. it's in your hands how big you want Focus Bokehs to get. Thanks for listening and watching. We'll see you next time. Rock and roll.